Marina,
Hi, Marina Hanson, City of Kent. I am here.
Colleen Brandt Schluter,
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm calling Brant Sluter. I am here.
Tracy Buxton,
I'm here.
Brian Davis,
Jeff, great to see you. I'm here.
Sean Kelly,
Here. Thanks.
Eric Zimmerman,
I'm here. Hi, everyone.
Carmen Rivera. How about James Alberson? Okay, moving past Renton to SeaTac, James Lovell,
I'm here.
Thomas McLeod,
Yeah.
and Sunari Marshall.
All right. Looks like we do have a quorum. And so, as Jeff mentioned, and you, I think, have all been informed, obviously, that Claire is out on maternity leave now. And in her absence is the amazing Jeff Tate, who was the director of community development. I guess you still are. And he's also working on special assignments. And I think you are going to, if you don't know him, will really enjoy working with him. Jeff, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Mayor and Chair. So yeah, my name is Jeff Tate. There's a lot of familiar names and faces on the screen, but there's some that I haven't had the pleasure to meet or work with yet. I've worked for the City of Auburn for 14 years, a lot of that in the capacity as Director of Community Development. More recently, Mayor has assigned me to help with a variety of special projects that sort of span multiple departments at the city. So I won't say a whole lot about my city work. I want to just mention that my history going back into 2018 and 19, I did have a strong role, a participatory role in helping with the staff work group get to a point where SKIP was formed. So very familiar with the interlocal agreement, very familiar with the work that SKIP does. As the administering agency, SKIP is strongly connected to the department that I have managed. Claire and Dorsal are physically located within the space of community development, and we talk a lot. We share a lot. As the administering agency, we provide a lot of the background support in terms of like contracts and finance stuff, budget stuff, things of that nature. I say all that because I just want everybody to know that SKIP is not, and the work that SKIP does is not new to me. So pretty well plugged in. I am different than Claire, so if there's some style differences in terms of how I run through a few of the materials, if the chair turns an item over to me during the agenda and I provide a summary, it might sound or look a little different than Claire's style. But so if that presents any sort of challenge or issue, please speak up and say so. It's nothing intentional. So that's a little bit about me. Yeah, I'll turn it back over to the chair.
Thank you, Jeff. And we do have others with us today. Obviously, the roll call kind of serves as an introduction to the board members, but we also always have others with us, the amazing staff work group. And today we do have one of our newest advisory board members, Kent Hay, who also is the Director of Human Services for the City of Auburn. Kent, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Kent Hay. I am the Director of Human Services. I also oversee the Department of Anti-Homelessness, which is our outreach department in the City of Auburn as well. And I sit on the SKIP Advisory Board. And so thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. And Jeff or Dorsal, whoever might be able to do this better, I think you're probably both familiar with them, but many of the staff work group are here with us today. And so we know who everyone is. If you could help call them out so they can introduce themselves.
Sure, thank you. I can start with that. And the way that we'll handle this is just ask the staff work group to kind of tag to the next staff work group member. So I'll start that and uh, uh, turn it over or introduce Nicole Nordham.
I turned my camera on so you could do that. Hi, Jeff. Nice to see you. I'm Nicole Nordholm. I'm the communications director for the city of Des Moines, and I support Mayor Buxton. Oh, and I will turn it to, oh, geez, who hasn't said anything? Marina, are you there?
I'm here. I don't know what's going on with my camera. Hi. Also standing in for Mayor Ralph today, but normally I am on the staffing work group for the city of Kent. I cannot see everybody for some reason.
How about
I can go
Thanks.
next. Yeah. Michaela Daffern. I work for King County, and I staff Scenario Marshall. Scenario Marshall is also out on maternity leave. She shares the same due date as Claire. So I think my colleague Sochi Makovich will be joining late, and she's serving as Scenario's alternate during this time period. And I will call on Matt.
Thanks, Michaela. Matt Torpy, Community Development Manager, City of Maple Valley, supporting Mayor Kelly. Happy to be here today, and nice to meet you, Jeff. Haven't had a chance to talk to you, but we will get to know each other, I'm sure. And I will turn it over to Nicholas.
Thanks, Matt. Nicholas Matz, Community Development Director, City of Normandy Park, Staff Mayor Zimmerman. I just want to say, with Chair Backus's addition of awesome to staff working group, I think there should be a formal motion of the board to make that our working title, Dorsal, for our meetings. Just put it out there.
I wholeheartedly will second that.
Thanks. I will pass it to Liz.
Thank you, Nicholas. I'm Liz Stead, and I am the new Community Development Director in Burien. So this will be my first meeting here. I'm looking forward to getting to know you all and working with you. And let's see, I don't know that I know people well enough to pass them. Maybe Joe Thompson. I don't think I've heard you speak.
The old unmute there. Hi, everyone. I'm Joe Thompson. I'm the president of Mercy Housing Northwest, and maybe I'll start by introducing Chris Bendix.
Hi, everyone. Chris Bendix, also from Mercy Housing Northwest, project developer working specifically on the Kent Multicultural Village project. And I'll turn it over to Obi Omobi from our team.
Hi, everyone. Obi Omobi, also with Mercy Housing Northwest, and I am the project lead for the Burien Family Housing Project.
Okay. And Obi, if you wouldn't mind, everybody comes in as Skip Pan. There you go. Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Dorsal. It looks like maybe you might have done that. Thank you. And Sochi, welcome.
Hi, I am Sochi Makovich. I'm here for King County. I am covering for Sunari Marshall while she is on her maternity leave. She'll be having her baby any day. So
very exciting. Let's see, maybe Dennis.
Hi, this is Dennis Martinez. I'm helping Tom McLeod, City of Tequila. Thank
Excellent. You. Thank you. And Carmen, welcome.
Reading. Sorry, I had to switch devices momentarily, so I'll be on camera in a second. But Carmen Rivera, Renton City Council.
Welcome. All right, I'm sure we've missed somebody. Laurel, did we get you? We did? Okay. We didn't. Okay.
Hello, Laurel Humphrey, City of Tukwila Council staff. Thanks.
Welcome. All right. How about now? Did we get everybody now? It's such a great group. Oh,
Madam
yes.
Chair, can I point one person out that's here? Very honored to have Maple Valley Council Member Victoria Schroft over in attendance. So just want to thank her for being here.
Welcome. Thank you. It's always such a great group, always so dedicated to affordable housing. And I do think that awesome should be in front of the staff working group because you work very hard. And I know, Nicholas, I think you've got something there. And all right, so we will move on. And maybe somebody during public comment will want to say that same thing. So we will move on to public comment. This is the time on the agenda for that. And if there's anyone online that would like to make a comment, please use the raise hand function at the bottom of your screen. And then you'll have 3 minutes to make your remarks. So please remember when you start to state your name and city of residence for the record. Is there anyone online that would like to speak?
I see Dorsal is saying nope.
No. All right. So we will move on then to the approval of the April 19th, 2024 minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved. This is Tracy.
Thank you.
I'll second is Sean.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the April 19th, 2024 board meeting. Are there any comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the approval of the minutes, please say aye.
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 All opposed, please say no. The minutes have passed. Do we have any agenda modifications today, Jeff?
There are none, Chair.
All right. Wonderful. So we are going to move on to item 5, which is a board briefing. And today is Meet the Developer, Mercy Housing Northwest. We continue with our series of briefings, and you may recall that we awarded Mercy Housing Northwest funding in 2022 for their project located in Burien and in 2023 for their project in Kent. Founded in the 1980s, Mercy Housing is a national nonprofit organization with 6 regional offices. Mercy Housing Northwest owns and operates 52 properties throughout Washington, Oregon, and Idaho, providing over 5,000 families and seniors with an affordable place to call home. So Jeff, I'll turn it over to you to do introductions.
Yeah, this will be real quick. I'd just like to introduce Obina Amobi and Chris Bendix, who are project developers from Mercy Housing Northwest, and turn it over to the two of you for your presentation. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Along with us is Joseph Thompson, Mercy Housing Northwest's president. And I'm hoping you can all see the screen that I'm trying to share with the slides for our presentation today.
There it is.
Great. So we'll have Joe start us off.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks so much, Obi, and thank you all for allowing us to join your meeting today and tell you a little bit about Mercy Housing Northwest. I am Joe Thompson. I'm the president of Mercy Housing Northwest, and I've been in this position for about 4 years now. And one of the things I wanted to start with is saying that, you know, when I came on board in this position, that I wanted to make South King County one of our real priority areas for development. And happy to say that we have that priority is being really realized and lived out. And the reason I wanted to make it a priority area for our development activities is that it is an incredibly culturally rich and incredibly diverse area with a lot of its residents at risk for displacement, as it also becomes increasingly unaffordable for many. And so kind of the combination of those things made it really important to me. I also want to say, when I first started with Mercy Housing Northwest way back in 2003, I had the privilege of spending my first month on the job at the Appian Way Apartments in Kent, which was one of our first developments in that 30 plus year history. And really fell in love with that community, and just my initial experiences there kind of stayed in my heart all these years, and really informed, again, South King County being a real priority area for us. And so Appian Way is, as I mentioned, that 150 unit property in Kent that we've operated for I think about 30 years. Chris and Obi will get into some of our other more recent development activities there. But one thing I wanted to mention too is that we actually have an active development and cranes in the ground, and building going up at the Angle Lake Light Rail Station, where we're really excited to be developing a pretty exciting project there in conjunction with the ARC of King County as well. So it is our privilege to be able to serve over 6,000 people every day in providing a safe and stable home for them. We have been really busy the last few years, having developed about 1,300 units of family housing, 700 of which are in King County. And we have about a similar number of units in our pipeline for the next 5 years. So we've been busy, and we're getting even more busy because the need has never been greater for affordable housing. In addition to the housing that we develop and own, I'm really equally proud of the resident services that we provide for our residents once those communities welcome families home. And I think it's one of the things that makes Mercy a pretty unique affordable housing developer, because the depth of our resident services is pretty unique and a little bit deeper than, and frankly, most affordable housing developers out there. And I think it's a real differentiator. What we aim to do is take that stable platform that affordable housing provides for that family, and really activate it to help those families maybe address some other challenges or some other opportunities, or some dreams that they've had for themselves, but that they haven't quite been able to get to when they've been simply scrambling to meet the demands of the day. And those services really partner with the residents to, again, help them achieve those dreams that they have for themselves. And our services are really in 5 distinct areas, and kind of run the gamut from health and wellness, helping make sure that folks have recognizing housing as healthcare, and making sure that people are connected to good health care for themselves, housing success and stability, economic empowerment, and then community building, both within within our developments, but also in the neighborhoods and the surrounding communities. And so we've provided a lot of services since the start of 2020, and well before that too. One of the service programs that I'm most proud of, that I wanted to highlight for you today, that is featured at our Appian Way property, and also will be featured at some of our yet to be developed properties in South County. And that is our Mercy Scholars program, which is really focused on that second generation, really providing wraparound educational supports to really, again, kind of accelerate and amplify the opportunity for academic success, and with kind of the North Star being post-secondary opportunities for our kids. It's a pretty exciting program. I'd love to invite any of you out to one of our properties to kind of see it in action. But it is a real difference maker in the lives of many. So with that, I'll turn it over to, I think Chris is going next.
It's me going next.
Oh, Obi.
Thank you. So for the first project we're presenting today, I'll be presenting Burien Family Housing, which is located at the corner of Ambon Boulevard and 128th Street in Burien. And this is a partnership between Mercy Housing and Mary's Place, where we will be developing an affordable housing community adjacent to a new emergency shelter that will be run by Mary's Place. So here there's just a very early rendering of what the two properties will look like next to each other. This project brings together two high-capacity partners focused on serving families and working together to provide a better, more integrated solution to family homelessness. And this project builds on a strong existing partnership. Mercy Housing Northwest and Mary's Place have previously partnered on two other properties that Mercy owns, one of those being our Gardner House property next to the Mount Baker station in Seattle, where Mary's Place worked with Mercy Housing Northwest to create a family resources center to help families struggling with housing insecurity. And at our Cedar Crossing development next to the Roosevelt Light Rail Station, also in Seattle, Mercy Housing Northwest has worked to set aside 20 units for families with complex medical challenges that includes families from the Popsicle Place program that is a Mary's Place program. These are mainly families from the Children's Hospital in Seattle, where families often have to devote many of their resources to getting the care that they need for their children, and it's hard to and struggle to find housing as a result. So building on that partnership, Mary's Place had selected Mercy in 2021 to work with them to redevelop their site in Burien, where they've been operating since 2018. And since Mary's Place selected Mercy, going back to 2021, when the project concept was first conceived, the development team has been guided by this vision and guiding principles to center equality and opportunity to address the crisis of family homelessness, innovation, and the use of best practices to create a well-planned community for the residents, including children, families, as well as the broader Burien community, and working to ensure long-term financial and program stability, and creating a concept and program formed with input from the community and people with lived experience, meaning that we are reaching out to the community and to guests of the existing shelter to really inspire what the future development will look like. Beyond simply placing housing next to shelter, we envision this project as a model for changing how the homelessness crisis is addressed. Under the present system, families are often left behind and unable to access resources or housing options that are not available to families, unless they fall within narrow parameters. As a result, families often face challenges of long wait lists and having to accept housing options that require them to relocate and disrupt their social networks, whether that be educational systems, work, or social systems. With this project, we intend to create a more direct pathway for families who have achieved stability in the Mary's Place shelter to be able to transition into permanent affordable housing without having to relocate, enabling them to remain in their community and better maintain stability. The new housing project will provide 90 units, the majority of which will have 2, 3, or 4 bedrooms for households earning between 30 and 60% AMI. Of those 90 units, 34 will be set aside for families transitioning from homelessness, such as the families leaving the Mary's Place shelter once they've achieved stability. The project has received a commitment for 34 vouchers from the King County Housing Authority, specifically to serve these units. And as Joe mentioned, like many of Mercy's other properties, all of the residents will be able to benefit from the suite of services offered through our resident services programming, along with additional supportive services and case management for the formerly homeless households. And the shelter that will be developed by Mary's Place will have the capacity to serve roughly 75 families or up to 200 people a night, including medically fragile children and infants. Mary's Place will also offer its own services for those families in the shelter. And we are still working together with the Mary's Place team to figure out how to coordinate services between the two buildings so that there's really a full range of services for stabilized and formerly homeless households to benefit from. Here is a conceptual site plan for how to show how the two buildings will be oriented and really how things will work between them. So the parking will be deviated between the shelter and housing throughout the site. But as you can see, the shelter will be on the western portion of the site, more facing the neighborhood. And the housing will be on the eastern portion of the site. There will remain a portion of the site that is undeveloped. This is the part that really has a severe slope down towards Ambaugh Boulevard. That part we're not touching as part of this development. And here is a rendering of what we intend the housing project to look like. This is looking at the housing project really from the southeast corner down here. So as it would look going northward along Ambaugh Boulevard. But of course, this is early on. The colors and design is subject to change. As far as the schedule goes, as I mentioned earlier, we have been working on this project since 2021, so we've come a long way since then. Much of the funding has been achieved, but we are still awaiting to pursue a 4% tax credit allocation. We are currently underway on permitting, and with that, we have the goal of starting construction by spring of 2025. With the shelter project likely starting at about the same time. So that is just a high-level overview of this project. I'm happy to answer questions when we get to that portion of the presentation. But for now, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Chris.
Thanks, Obi. And thank you everyone for joining, for letting us join your meeting today. It's really nice to be here and have an opportunity to talk about these great projects that we're really excited about. I get to talk about the Kent Multicultural Village project. This is a really exciting project that we've been working on for about a year now, since we started working on the response to the Sound Transit request for proposals for the Kent Des Moines North site, which is where this is located in the Midway neighborhood in Kent. It is on the same block as the north entry to the future Kent Des Moines Light Rail Station, which is scheduled to open in about 2 years, and right across the street from Highline College. This is a large project. It was one that came to us similar to what Obi was just talking about with the Mary's Place. We were approached by our partner organization on this project, Open Doors for Multicultural Families, which is a nonprofit service provider focusing on serving diverse families with one or more family members who have an intellectual or developmental disability, especially helping families who are recent arrivals to this area or recent arrivals to this country, who may need extra support and help connecting to services that are available to them and to their family members. Next slide, please. So ODMF, or as we call them, Open Doors for Multicultural Family, is also called ODMF, served over 2,500 clients throughout King County. They have 3 different locations and they're based locally in the city of Kent. Next slide. The vision and guiding principles behind the Kent Multicultural Village were really set in place in large part by Open Doors for Multicultural Families and their ambition to create both housing that was meeting a specific need for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families and caregivers, as well as to create a diverse and mixed-use community where there was a variety of services all located in one place, all, with good access to transit. So this idea, this vision of a project has been swirling around in Open Doors for Multicultural Families for a couple of years now, and we were lucky to be paired up with ODMF to help bring this project to reality. So the goal is to center accessibility. We have 20% of units set aside for individuals and families with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and that means that we're going to be seeking a higher level of accessibility, going beyond the typical 5% of units that meet the ADA standards, but really thinking inclusively about how can we exceed the specific standards for ADA and go into a much more broad understanding of what accessibility and integration means for people who have differences of ability. ODMF will relocate their office spaces to the ground floor of this property. They have about 25,000 square feet of office and community serving facilities that are going to be located in this new property, which is a significant change from the amount of space they have today. We're also going to be adding neighborhood retail to activate the corner of Pacific Highway and 236th Street, which is right at the intersection where transit users will be coming and going between Highline and the new light rail, as well as Rapid Ride and local buses. We're also going to be including an early learning center, which is also going to be operated by ODMF and which will focus on serving needs of children who have intellectual and developmental disabilities and focusing on integrating children with different abilities into an early learning center. So thinking hard again about what accessibility and inclusivity means in terms of early learning facilities and designing a space that's going to really fully meet the needs of all users. And finally, we want to make sure that we're activating this station area. There's already going to be some nice public space at the station and near the station. And we want to make sure that our project is contributing to that in a positive way. Next slide. So this is a large project. We are planning on having about 240 affordable housing units, which we haven't quite pinned down exactly how many units we're going to have, but similar to what Obi was talking about, we're going to have a mix of studio, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, and even some 4-bedroom units in this property, serving a range of incomes between 30% of area median income and 60% of area median income. And like I mentioned, we have about 25,000 square feet of community serving space and office space, which is Open Doors for Multicultural Families' new office space. The 10,000 square foot early learning center that I mentioned, which includes 6 classrooms, and then 4,500 square feet of neighborhood retail, and in particular with an emphasis on food and eating and drinking and culinary skills training. We've been in conversation with a Kent-based nonprofit called Project Feast, who we're partnering with to occupy that retail space, and really excited about what that relationship could look like. We want to have emphasis on multicultural design and public art and make sure that the design of the building physically looks and feels appropriate for the people who live in the neighborhood. And we want it to feel like a place that all people are welcome to come and spend time. And that goes to our final point, which is creating public plaza spaces adjacent to the Sound Transit light rail station that really takes what is already being built and amplifies it that much more. Next slide. So we're on a similar schedule to what OB's schedule is for the Burien Family Housing Project. Right now, we're in the pre-development and design phase, which will continue for about the next year. We have secured quite a lot of the public funding that we need to secure for this project from SKIP and then from Commerce. And we have because we're in a Sound Transit site, we have a direct path to the 4% tax credit program. So We have some more conversations to have with the Amazon Housing Equity Fund, and then with private tax credit investor and lender as well. So we're hoping to start construction in the third quarter of 2025, and the project will take roughly 2 years to complete. Next slide. So we have some more examples of other housing projects that we're working on in King County, both South King County and in general, our focus on transit-oriented development. And starting first with the Angle Lake Family Housing Project that Joe mentioned in SeaTac, just about a mile up the road from the Kent project. This project is under construction. We started about 5 months ago now, and it's 130 units of housing right next to the light rail station. Similar to the Kent project, has a set aside of units for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, which is really an underserved segment of the population that we feel like our services are a good fit for. Next slide. This is another example. It's the building in which Joe and I are sitting right now, Mercy Othello Plaza in Seattle. This project was also a Sound transit-oriented development project, and adjacent to the Othello light rail station. This project was really a story of preventing displacement and making sure that the diverse neighborhood stayed diverse. And we really feel like we started a trend here. If you ever find yourself in the Othello neighborhood, you'll notice there are quite a few other new projects happening right now, and ours was really one of the first. And we feel like by starting with affordable housing, we can help prevent displacement that might otherwise happen as the neighborhood changes. Next slide. And then finally, Cedar Crossing up in Seattle, North Seattle. This is one of our larger projects that we co-developed with Bellwether Housing. 254 units of affordable housing. Again, the story here is really connecting families to opportunities in neighborhoods where they might not otherwise have access to affordable housing, especially in such close proximity to the light rail and all the amenities and services that are nearby. I think that's the last slide of our presentation, and we can pause if there are any questions. And then we also, Dorsal teed us up and said, this is a great opportunity for us to talk about any challenges that we're encountering or others are encountering in developing affordable housing in South King County. So happy to take questions, and then we can dive into some of the challenges that I think we've observed.
Right. Excellent. Thank you, Obina and Joe. Great information. And looks like Tracy has a question.
Thank you, Chair. Great presentation, and I love the slides. It gives us a really nice idea, not just of drawings, but actual buildings and the projects that you put out. So very nice. I'm just have a question about the Kent Des Moines Station project and the perspective there on the slide with the rendering there. And you have it almost reminds me of the building a little bit that you're sitting in. It's got that kind of unique shape with the open plaza area. Where do you know which direction the open plaza is facing and which side of the building the light rail, or no, Pacific Highway?
Yeah, Obi, could you pull that slide back up, please?
Sure.
So as you're looking at this slide, you can see kind of in the middle right-hand side, ghosted in, that's the transit station. It's elevated station, and then the long road that you see on the left, kind of coming across the slide at an angle, that's Pacific Highway. So
okay,
the transit plaza will be it'll start basically at the corner with Pacific Highway and 236th, and then kind of expand back as people travel through it to the light rail station. And it's a kind of a triangle shape. And then the break you see in the center of the building is facing west primarily. And that's going to be, that will include a pickup and drop off loop for access to the various uses that are going to be within the building. The transit plaza, that triangle shaped plaza, faces south. So it's going to get great solar exposure.
So has anybody talked, has there been any extended talks or more talks about the possibility of a bridge over Pacific Highway there, the opening in the building that you're probably right faces the new grand entrance to the college there? And I'm guessing that everybody's working together to make that that whole, that it's not, that it becomes kind of a community there, that everything, the public space is kind of open to each other. I know that there was talk about a pedestrian walk over Pacific Highway.
I can't speak to anything that's going on to Pacific Highway. I know our project isn't going to be changing anything in the public right of way.
Okay.
This is all kind of within the block that already exists.
All right. Well, great. Thank you so much. Appreciate the presentation.
Tom.
Thank you. To the Burien project, it talks about affordable housing that's 2, 3, and 4 bedroom. We don't see a lot of 4 bedroom. Just out of curiosity, what is the inventory when we talk about the universe of affordable housing in South King County that has 4 bedroom as part of it?
My understanding is that there's not a lot of it. And that is a decision that was influenced by Mary's Place. We reached out to them and tried to get an understanding of the household sizes of some of the families that they serve in their shelter. And we've heard that it can range anywhere from 2 to 8 to 10 people. And so there was a desire to have some larger units. And it's not a lot of them. Of the 90 units, there are 3 4-bedroom included in the development. So it's hard to fit in a lot of them. They take up a lot of room and they're more expensive to construct. But we wanted to make sure that we could at least have some that served larger families.
Are you hearing or sensing a demand for a lot of 4-bedroom units?
It really depends on who you ask. It's something that we always get a question about, whether or not we would be able to provide larger units of that size. I think I don't think we've gone up to 4 bedrooms in any of our other previous developments. So it's not something that we typically pursue, but we wanted to make the effort for this project just to be cognizant of the population that we would be serving.
Thank you for incorporating that. I'm sure to those that use it, it's extremely valuable.
Sure. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question. I know it's kind of hard to get at. Yeah, I don't know what the actual number of properties offering 4-bedroom units is in the region.
Yeah, I don't have anything more on that either, but I will. The one thing I'll add that we're including 4-bedroom units in the Kent project as well. Not a lot, again, 5 of them, but what we're hearing is there's quite a lot of intergenerational households in South King County. And so in talking with Open Doors for Multicultural Families, they felt like it would be important that we at least include some of the 4-bedroom units to reflect, the real need for, more space for larger households with 6, 7, 8 members.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the reality is, except for affordable housing, so in market rate housing, it is very difficult to find anything larger than a 2-bedroom. And it is, so I believe we do have a few 4 bedrooms in our larger portfolio, and that there is demand. And then I guess I'll just on a personal level say, as someone who grew up in a family of 11 in a 3-bedroom house, I would have sorely appreciated that 4th bedroom.
Any other questions? Oh, well, great presentation, exciting projects. Chris, Obina, Joe, thank you so much for not just these projects that you spoke about, but all of your work in ensuring that there is housing for everyone in our community. Thank you.
And,
Thanks so much.
just to wrap up, Chris, I don't know if you had any points outlined to share as far as the challenges and opportunities go. A few that I jotted down while Chris was presenting was just that as a challenge, I would call out, the ramifications of the increasing homelessness challenge and that shifting further to the south, understanding that that's impacting the communities that we're working in and impacting people's response to affordable housing projects like these. So that's nothing new to our work. It's nothing new to working in Seattle or working in King County, but just understanding that as the issue spreads further to the south, it of course affects different communities in different ways, and different communities have different capacities to react to it. As as an opportunity, I would say that the growing number of resources in terms of capital and operational funding has been a boon in Southern King County, something that I think both of these projects has benefited from. Also, an opportunity as far as working in Burien has been being able to achieve density. The site in particular that the Burien Family Housing Project is located at is currently in the works for getting rezoned, along with many other properties along the Ambaum corridor. So if this project came about just a few years earlier, it would have been a much more uphill battle to get a site-specific rezone passed. And so that is something that just coincidentally, with the city already being underway on its own rezone, kind of works to benefit this project. And another opportunity I'd say is a shorter permitting timeline than we would typically experience in, say, Seattle or Tacoma or other larger jurisdictions. That just makes it much easier to get a project from start to finish within a reasonable timeline. And working with supportive and collaborative planning staff that understand the critical need for more affordable housing in the community has been a great opportunity as well. So thank you to all of you.
Excellent. Thank you.
I'll put in a quick plug for the Commerce Connecting Housing to Infrastructure program, CHIP program. That is a really helpful program. It basically helps local governments offset the cost of utility and other infrastructure improvements that otherwise we as the developer would be paying. So we can either pay that fee and then go raise more money to pay that back, and one hand of the government's paying the other, or we can help work together to use the CHIP program. So that's a great program that I encourage you all to make sure you and your staff are up to speed on.
Thank you. Great tips as well. All right, we will move on. We're under item 6A, the 2024 Q1 report, and it is required by our SKIP ILA that we get progress reports and budget updates. So the report serves as an accountability as well as progress update and a tool for all of us to update our respective councils if you need to. And of course, anyone else that might be interested in the information. And so we will receive the Q1 update and hear about the great work we've done in the beginning of 2024. Jeff.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So the Q1 report is included in the executive board's packet. I'll refrain from going through all of the quarter one report. I do want to highlight, and it's probably obvious to this audience and this group, but don't want to miss the opportunity to talk about the importance of these reports. While there's a cadence of meetings amongst the executive board members and the staff working group, and there's a lot of communication and coordination and positive work, it's really important for us to have these kinds of reports to bring back to our full city councils, to other leadership members within city government, and other organizations to just talk about the work that SKIP is doing and constantly remind and reinforce the importance and traction that SKIP has really gotten in a really short period of time, especially in the world of kind of government organizations. So, and that's of course due to all of your work. In the quarter one report, we structure it based upon the goals of SKIP. So the goals, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I just want to call out a couple things. Under goal 1, there's some big highlights in there. The city of SeaTac joining SKIP is just a huge highlight in goal 1. The new revenue sources that also a shout out to city of SeaTac and also to Maple Valley for the capital fund. Huge, impactful accomplishments in quarter 1. And then just the work that's been done by probably, I'm assuming, maybe mostly staff working group, but also with support and encouragement from executive board members. And that's just all of us going back to our city councils and talking about the 2023 Housing Capital Fund. So I want to highlight those. I think those are really important. I think also when you get to goal 4, the first item there, and this is going to be, every year, it's part of the flow of this work, but super important and a lot of orchestration for us to, all of us collectively, to work towards next year's work plan and budget. So we're all in that process right now. Some of us have probably already been before our city councils. If not, they're already docketed or planned to go to our respective city councils to talk about next year's work plan and next year's budget. So that's all I'll really say about the quarter 1 report. Happy to answer any questions on other items that I didn't highlight because they're important as well.
Thank you, Jeff. Does anybody have any questions on the Q1 report? Okay, you know what? We're going to be done really early today. It's a Friday afternoon and I see blue sky out there, so this might be a great time to finish early. We're going to move right on to updates and announcements. Jeff, any updates from you?
I think we have one update that we want to provide, and it's also an item that's in your packet. And it's a memo that Claire had written right before she left. And it is part of or in response to really a conversation with the staff working group as well, encouraging us to be as transparent as possible and to bring forward in these kind of the early infancy of funding projects, capital projects. We're learning a lot. And there's a memo in your packet that pertains to the Miller Creek project in Burien. It's a project that was funded out of 2022 Housing Capital Fund. As a reminder, it's a $300,000 SKIP contribution, and it's for a project that's a 20-unit ownership project. I can't recall the cost of the total project, but 20 units is probably somewhere between 10 and $20 million, perhaps. And I say that because while the overall number is important, it's really to highlight that all of these projects require a variety of funding sources to make happen. So SKIP is one contributor to a larger project, 20-unit project. So as this project has moved forward in sort of its financing structure, and which is really kind of part of that also design phase, you highlight a lot of things, you learn a lot of things through a project, and you start understanding about how things can be financed, what additional costs might be incurred just through the design process. So in the memo, what is highlighted here is that is it's really there's a few questions at the end of the memo, which are kind of like, is this considered an administrative shift or change, or is this considered substantive? So we really kind of want to hear feedback from the executive board of how we communicate changes that might occur through the course of a project as we learn more. And whether it's executive board decision making, whether it's executive board just wanting to be informed, is it administrative and you're saying, look, it doesn't change the project materially, so go forth. So that's you know, a motivation for bringing forward this item. Really, it's a financing structure issue or change, which is really taking the $300,000 of skip contribution and tying it to 3 specific units in the 20-unit project, where those 3 specific units will have a deeper affordability effect. They'll get to a deeper affordability goal and outcome. But the way that the rest of the financing structure looks is some of the other funders might not be able to get to that level. So their contributions might go to other units that get to different AMI levels. So there's a lot of kind of nuance and detail in there, but I think, and this is Jeff's opinion, probably, I don't want to characterize this as the staff working group's opinion as a whole, but in my opinion, when I look at this kind of change, the project is still 20 units. The project is still meeting affordability targets, different types of targets for different types of units within the building. And the footprint and the scope of the work is not really changing, but there's a financing layer behind it that I don't think anybody wants to assume the executive board would be comfortable or uncomfortable if the detail behind this is that the $300,000 is kind of targeting more of those 3 units and not the other 17 units. Does that matter? Or is it what matters that there's still a 20-unit project? It's still an affordable home ownership project. It's a financing structure behind the scenes. So I'll stop kind of rambling about that to get to kind of the end of the memo where there's a recommendation from in terms of, you know, continuing to move forward. But there's some questions there for the executive board about gauging your temperature of, you know, is this substantive? Is this a technical? Is it administrative? So I will turn the floor back over to the chair and the board for conversation.
Thank you, Jeff. Any thoughts on that? Anybody have any big concerns?
I don't have concerns per se. I think one thing that I could offer that happened, because I know the project funded in Kent, there's already been some kind of changes that will probably be happening at that one, given financial funding, things like that. And so kind of how it was handled was, I think if the skip staff communicates with the jurisdiction, executive board member and staff, and kind of handles it that way. And if concerns get floated at that level, I think that might be one trigger.
Tracy, thank you, Marina.
So to be really transparent here, just saying, I did not read this memo before the meeting. So this is the briefing I got. And so I'm looking through it right now. What I would like to know is what's the downside of doing this? Who would be against this? Why would somebody not want this? If it's just a change, it's still, Jeff, you did a good job of presenting, well, it's still this and it's still that, you know, no big deal. So why would somebody think it is a big deal?
Well, I can give you kind of my take, and there's probably a few other maybe positions or ideas, but My take would be that the executive board would be nervous if the narrative was Skip contributed $300,000 and it funded 3 units. And if the narrative, if that is the narrative that's out there, that might concern an executive board member. I think that you could equally state that it's a $300,000 contribution to a 20-unit project and it's achieving the overall objectives. But I don't think so. There, from I think from a legal perspective, there's not a risk. We haven't identified one. We haven't identified other types of risks or challenges, but we don't want to. I think I'm saying that we don't want like there to be a different narrative that could be developed around that, and then have the executive board feel that it was behind, caught off guard if someone said something that way. I think we have a counter narrative to that. Is how we would respond to that.
Okay, I understand. It would mean that it's kind of gelling that moving forward, then our specific contribution, because of all the parameters in this decision, only goes to those 3 units, is what you're saying?
I mean, that's the way the financing structure could look.
Okay. And my understanding, I think, is $100,000 for a unit. Are they studios? No, they're family units, aren't they? What did you say they were? Anyway, I'm just trying to think as an investor or somebody it's like $100,000 for a unit is really cheap. I mean, it's a good deal. You're providing housing. I think that's what you said. Well, you're still providing housing. You're still providing, anyway, unless I'm not saying it correctly, whether you're mixing, these kind of apples with these kind of apples, they're all still apples that you're giving into the community. But anyway,
well, and they'll all continue to be 100% of the units will continue to be affordable housing units, and they'll continue to meet an overall average of I think it's 50% AMI on balance through the building. So there's a lot of positive to say about the project as it moves forward. And then, so I mean, it's really a question of, is there concern if the funding is really tied to some specific units, kind of on the back end financing piece?
Okay.
Other thoughts?
Are you going to ask us for a head nod today or at some point? Does this we have to be taken to a vote of the
I don't think it's our intention to ask the executive board to vote. I think that we want to hear if you have any concerns with the recommendation to move forward, really, and view this as an administrative matter.
Okay.
I think are there any objections? I think would be good for us to hear with that approach.
Okay. No objection from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Sean?
I just want to take this back to my council, unless it's a really urgent, we vote on it tonight. If just be able to have them mull it over a little bit, have discussion at a council level.
Okay. We can do that. We can, Jeff, there's no urgency, is there, if we bring it back to our June meeting?
We have time. And it does say in the memo that the executive board's position is requested prior to executing the contract and funding documents that will happen in October when Claire returns.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if you would all be willing to take this back to your respective councils and then come prepared to the June meeting to have a deeper conversation on any concerns that you might have, or nope, everything is good, we'll just move forward, that would be greatly appreciated. Everybody good with that? Okay, thank you. Jeff, anything else on that for you right now?
No, thank you.
Okay, any other updates or announcements from any of the board or the amazing staff working group? None. All right, well, I want to remind you all that next month's meeting is on June 14th. and it's here in Auburn. In person, we get to see each other. We get to have a little bit more FaceTime than just Zoom face. So looking forward to hosting you. And if there is nothing else, and by the way, Dorsal did put in the comments, 20 condominium home ownership units, 3-bed, 1.5 bath. That was on this discussion, right, Dorsal? Yes, thank you. All right, if there is nothing else, I wish you all a wonderful weekend. And thank you for your work and care for our communities and to ensure that everyone deserves and has the housing that they deserve. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mayor.